Andrew and Bernadette now believe that the spectre of Lucas's empire that had loomed over them for so long was now in the past.
So, after 8 years of continuous litigation and interference with our lives, we finally could relax because we thought it's over. And then out of the blue, we had a letter from Lucas's lawyers saying they were continuing with remedies. Remedies being damages in America for the 19 helmets we originally sold in America for £8,000 that started the whole case off.
Lucasfilms, now armed with the new UK law change, soon began plotting another claim against Andrew, and this time they were confident they could successfully pursue it in the British courts.
Well, I suppose in the background you always thought inevitably something, things just don't go away, and when it did come back, I suppose it's a resignation that is on with the next battle, really.
The new case that Lucas's lawyers were making was the original 19 helmets sold in the US had caused the organisation commercial damages, not an entirely different claim from the original California prosecution.
I think that Lucasfilms didn't like Andrew because of some of the things Andrew had said in his publicity materials. I think it was more of a needle match than something of great economic significance so far as Lucas was concerned.
And Lucas was claiming $4.4 million in damages, plus 8 years of interest, compound interest at 8%, and we estimated that was about $9 million in all.
These things don't go away, and so it's a case of here we go again, really.
So this was a very difficult situation because we had to get legal representation and go back to our lawyers, who we were already indebted to for about £4.5 million, and ask them to continue representing us.
We had to see if they'd take this, finish it off, because things didn't seem finished. And so this seemed the last bit of it, the last hurdle. So we just hoped against all odds that he'd take us on.
Andrew's lawyers agreed to take on the case in the hope of recovering some of their costs from the other side. But to do so, they needed to come up with another approach.
They thought seriously about it and suggested that if we put in what was called a Part 36 offer, this would protect our costs. And a Part 36 offer is a non-derisive offer agreed to by the legal profession that the other side has to accept within 21 days, which means that if the other side accepts it, the case is finished, it's all over. And if they don't accept it within 21 days, then all the costs would be on their side from that point on. And so our lawyers would be covered from the cost aspect, and so our costs would be protected.
We were rather hoping that they wouldn't accept that money, and in due course, when the case came to court, they'd win less, and we'd get all the costs of having to fight about it.
And so we had to decide what would be a non-derisive offer to satisfy a damages claim of $9 million.
Bernadette wasn't happy about the tactic.
I didn't think that we should pay anything to anybody to produce our own products, so it was, I thought it was very unfair. In comparison, it's a small amount, but it's still a lot of money, and it's a lot of money if you have to find it.
In the end, the prospect of putting the whole nightmare behind them won her over.
It was worth going on it to finally draw a line under everything. That's what you really want. You just want to put a full stop to everything and start again, and take breath, really.
They made an offer that both sides agreed was non-derisive. £90,000 to settle their $9 million claim. All they could do then was sit and wait for a response.
Now, as our lawyers had thought, Lucas did not accept the offer, as it would have been a massive climb down from their original claim. And so the litigation case continued. And this was building up to be a massive case over just 19 helmets sold to America.
Both sets of lawyers went into overdrive, each demanding huge amounts of evidence. They seemed happy to string it out and play a long game. Meanwhile in the States, Lucas was in the final stages of clinching one of the most audacious deals in the whole of movie history. On the 30th of October 2012, Lucasfilms sold his Star Wars franchise lock, stock and barrel to Disney for a staggering $4 billion cash and a further $1.8 billion in stock. With the sale also came the lawsuit against Andrew.
They changed the lawyers to the Disney lawyers.
Disney probably took a practical decision that it wasn't worth fighting about.
And then, out of the blue, Disney's lawyers accepted my Part 36 offer, which meant I had to pay £90,000 within 14 days. Otherwise, I'm default and they could bankrupt me. But how on earth would I find £90,000 in 14 days?
Tense period is an understatement of the year. It was, it was dire, really.
We had the chance of raising the money, but within the timescale, it was virtually impossible. And so we were facing bankruptcy.
You just grab every chance going and looking at, up every avenue, really.
We tried everywhere to find this £90,000, and I mean seriously everywhere.
One of the avenues we'd gone up looking for the money, they couldn't help us, but they suggested the pawnbrokers. And, you've got to go for it, haven't you, really, if that was a chance. So we had to go.
No, I'd never been to a pawnbroker in my life, but we contacted quite a high-end pawnbroker, and they were immediately interested. What had we got of assets that were worth anything in 14 days? The moulds. The Star Wars Stormtrooper moulds. The thing the whole case was about. With only 5 days to go, the pawnbrokers got Christie's to value the moulds. The pawnbrokers agreed the loan with us. They had to get the money into our account, and we had to get the money transferred to Disney's account within the timescale.
By sheer good luck, we managed to get the money at the very, very last minute. And when I say last minute, I mean minute.
The money was in our account within seconds before we had to transfer it to Disney. We did it just in time, otherwise the judgment would have been enforced and we would have faced certain bankruptcy.
I made the transfer.
And so, after 10 years of unmitigated hell, it was finally over.
After the final settlement with Disney, life started to get back to normal for Andrew and Bernadette. Well, normal for them anyway. Then, with a deliciously ironic twist in the case that hinged on whether the Stormtroopers were works of art or industrial design, Andrew was asked to produce helmets to be given to some of the world's most prominent contemporary artists to adorn as they please. The results were to be shown at an exhibition in London's Saatchi Gallery. All proceedings were to go to charity. Andrew's legal battles were behind him, but the rapidly escalating loan payments to the pawnbrokers needed to be met. One problem was that he wasn't able to make any Stormtroopers to produce income because the moulds were still in hock. So they came up with an unusual arrangement.
While the moulds were in the pawnbroker, they agreed to let us have them out for periods of time to make product from, and so it was quite a good arrangement, really. So now we're free of Disney and free of Lucas, and we started making the characters and exported them all over the world. Except America.
With the business doing well enough to finally buy back the moulds from the pawnbrokers, Andrew decided to diversify. As the creator of the original Stormtrooper, he is entitled to certain intellectual copyrights. But by law, anybody using the image without license would be in legal parlance passing it off as the real thing. After taking further legal advice, Andrew came up with a plan to start a licensing company.
Because we won certain aspects of the court case, we can sell licenses that refer to the original moulds that we made.
So now Andrew has a thriving licensing business, all carrying his Stormtrooper images. The David and Goliath struggle against Andrew and two of the world's most powerful media corporations is over, and his products now go head to head with Disney's on some of the world's most famous shopping streets. The 2-decade galactic battle Andrew and Bernadette were forced to endure would have crushed most people. So how was it they found the will to carry on?
They bullied me at every step of the way, relentlessly. In the original High Court hearing, where Lucas claimed I was nothing but a charlatan and a backstreet operator, it fueled my resistance or tenacity to finish the fight. I would never give up the fight for my rights of the originator of the characters. I don't think there's any difference in a little guy or a corporation. Rights are rights, and if one body feels that they own something outright, as I did, and indeed George Lucas did, then we will both fight for it. And even though it looked almost hopeless in various stages of the litigation, I would never have given it up right to the end. I think that our tenacity showed through, and Lucas's arrogance defeated him.